Right, today let's have a look at Quantumscape stock, as Quantumscape is one of those companies which we've not looked at before. I think it's interesting from a fundamental and technical standpoint, and I think now is a perfect time to talk about it. Now let's have a look at what we've seen with this stock in the past trading day. Now it's been very rocky if we look at this one, and the stock price ultimately finished up green but only just, and in the day we had a lot of various moves. We had this initial move down which took us by over 3% to the downside, followed by this massive spike up, starting to stabilise into the late part of the day and then on into the after hours. Now, the reason why I find this stock particularly interesting at the moment is because when we look at, the past 5-day trend, we have seen a low point which we are starting to recover back from, but also on top of that, we're not too far for the lows on the 1 month, which were only at 509, with the current price being 547. Now, when we zoom out, this trend continues, and the lows that we saw at 509 were probably the lowest that we've seen really since about mid-May, and on the past year chart that is obviously apparent, and you can see the lows that we saw just the other day at 529, or even 509 I should say, were one of the lowest points that the stock's been at for quite some time. And looking at it from January to now, you can see that. But when this stock does run, it does seem to like to run, but the question is, what should we be expecting with this stock right now? Well, let's have a look first at the more complex charts and have a bit more of a technical scope as to what's going on. We'll start off on the 1 minute chart to look at the past day, and what I spoke about earlier was very well reflected in this. We had that big move throughout the mid part of the day, and this is a recovery that you're seeing from that. However, with a stock like this, I don't really think the 1 day moves matter too much. I'm looking more on the past couple of weeks really. So for this, we're going to zoom out to the 45-minute candles, and you can see that trend here. So like I said, it looks like we're recovering slightly from this point here. However, that was only on the 1st of November, so I wouldn't really read too much into that as of yet. But like I say, from the highs that we're seeing, this stock is down quite a lot, and this point at about $5 almost exactly could be a good low point for the stock. And depending on what happens this week, we could see that stock return to this point, but I wouldn't be too concerned, as I don't see that as too much of a potential loss, in my opinion, for what the stock is. I mean, if I was looking to invest in this one, it would be more long term, and again, considering the trend that we've seen, I think this is definitely closer to the bottom than the top, if you ask me, by this time quite a considerable margin. Would I consider buying this stock? I personally would. I think it's a very interesting company, like I said, both from a technical standpoint and a fundamental. And if you guys do want to see the fundamental breakdown of it, I'd be more than happy to cover that with you. But I think this stock, for those looking for something in this sector, could be a rather interesting play. And what I will say is, with stocks like this, whilst the downside potential is obviously there, and it always is, there's always that risk that we could go lower, the trend that we've seen over the past year almost now is confirming that the $5 price range almost is kind of the bottom of where this stock has liked to sit in the past, and this could just be another reflection of this, as we can draw parallels back to this point in January. We can even draw parallels back to this point later in the year, around the May part of the year, and again, now we're seeing this around now. So are we going to see the stock come up again to new highs, to previous highs, to higher levels than we are now? No one can say for sure. That's a very difficult question. I mean, the next break is going to, of course, be above probably 550 initially, then onto 617 mark, then onto this level at 644, which we've struggled at. Then we need to get past, in my opinion, this level over here, which would be 712. But that's what I'm looking for this stock. A very interesting play, potentially a good one, but of course, I'm not a financial advisor, so do make your own opinion on that. Thank you, see you soon.